Universal healthcare is a reality in dozens of countries around the world. It really is not a radical idea for the US to do the same. A quote stated by Senator Bernie Sanders: Universal healthcare is one of the many torches lit around the world, except it's not at home. Universal healthcare is the idea that all citizens receive quality medical service, whether or not they can pay for it. The government is the group in charge of providing its citizens with quality medical services if universal healthcare is adopted. While it could be a massive undertaking which could save many lives, it will take a lot of effort from all sides to get this done. Now, should universal healthcare be adopted in the United States? I believe that universal healthcare should be adopted into the US, as anyone who needs medical help doesn't have to be afraid of getting that help. According to an article by Lori Sosa, Vicky Lindblade, and Charlotte Markey of US News Health, May 13th, 2020, healthcare is tied to employment. With people losing their jobs during the pandemic, they fear for their healthcare. I am here to convince you that if universal healthcare was adopted into the US, it would be the right step for this country. To support me through this, I will talk about why the current US healthcare system is wrong, the pros of adopting universal healthcare, and how the success of the COVID-19 vaccine could enable universal healthcare. Strap yourself in and be ready to be informed. Healthcare in the US is definitely a big struggle for many who can't even afford insurance, as prices rise throughout the years. Even if you get lucky to get insurance, you still may face inequities when it comes to the quality of medical service. These inequities in the US are why people are paying so much for some sort of quality medical service, as they fear what could happen to them in the future. In an article by Andrea Christopher of Harvard Health Publishing, June 27, 2016, even though the US spends more on healthcare compared to other countries, we have one of the possibly lowest life expectancies in the world. If you let that sink in, the US is a very well developed nation, and we shouldn't hold this title of low life expectancy. Now, with some changes that have come through the years, like the Affordable Care Act, these provide some help to those uninsured, but still leave some desires to be wanted. Changes to the healthcare system in the US have been long and tedious, as those at the top really only care for business and profits. Universal healthcare has been slowly growing on those around the nation, as everyone would be able to get this quality medical service. While the current healthcare system in the US is a bit of a struggle, this brings me to the next point of my speech regarding the pros of universal healthcare. Now, if universal healthcare were to become a reality in the US, there would be many pros to this choice. You first have to look at how many other developed countries have some sort of universal healthcare system to provide to its citizens. In an article by Dylan Scott of Vox, January 29, 2020, other countries have argued on how to achieve universal healthcare, but the consensus is clear. Everybody should be covered. Universal healthcare is superior to the US system due to the fact that the US tends to neglect certain conditions and is high in hospitalizations from preventable causes. Adoption of universal healthcare wouldn't cut corners to quality medical service compared to what US businesses do to make a profit. Especially if you lose your job that provides insurance, you may still need to pay a lot to get help compared to the lower cost of universal healthcare. Quality healthcare that everyone can get is the main goal to achieve because it is in mind of getting healthcare as a human right. Now that you know about the pros of universal healthcare, I would like to bring you to the final point of my speech, which talks about the COVID vaccines that could lead to universal healthcare. With the pandemic going around today, this has shown us challenges to the health inequity across the world. Not surprisingly, with the introduction of COVID vaccines across the world, many areas are still not getting this aid quick enough. The vaccines that are here to prevent one getting COVID have been allowing healthcare services to be widely distributed across the world, especially to areas that are in dire need. In an article by David Walcott of World Economic Forum, April 28, 2021, universal healthcare would be able to provide greater access to medical services, which translates into opportunities for immunization. As the speed of the vaccine development across the world increases, more people are starting to see how healthcare is a necessity to one's life, especially now that literally anyone above the age of 16 in the US is able to get a vaccination. This is, a big step to achieving the goal of universal healthcare. Everyone deserves to live another day when they are suffering from a disease or conditions that harm one. Universal healthcare is on the horizon of saving many lives across the world. All we have to do is light the torch to shine on the US. From my speech today, I addressed why the current US healthcare system in the US is wrong, the pros of universal healthcare, and how the success of the COVID vaccines leads to universal healthcare. The biggest problem that stands in front of universal healthcare in the US is, should it be adopted? I will always argue for universal healthcare to be adopted, as everyone should be able to get the quality medical service they need without fear. Universal healthcare is a fighting battle within the United States. While the poorest of the poor suffer from not getting the help they need, businesses in the medical field continue to become richer. Universal healthcare is here to provide help so that everyone can get a fighting chance to see the next day.